You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
We can deport violent, illegal criminals. That makes a lot of sense.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
Obama was not the president for this system.
Do you think that House Democrats and Senate Democrats should try to cooperate with Donald Trump
if he tries to kick people off their health insurance? We're going to have a Youngstown street fight.
The American people, they voted against Hillary. They voted against this administration.
We pledge allegiance to one flag, and that flag is the American flag.
Welcome to the Abolitionists Roundtable, your all-access pass to the 2017 Red, White, and Blue Conservative Revolution. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600. Now, here are your hosts, Del Marsh, Phil Stargell, and Janice Daniels.
And good morning. This is Phil Stargell. And today we are a little light on the other two-thirds of the triumvirate. We are the Abolitionist Roundtable of Michigan, and we are going to, first of all, just rehash last weekend. And that was the annual trip down to Cobo Hall of a bunch of dedicated to the pro-life protection of the unborn and the saving of the black race in America, because as much as many people in this country believe that there is a reason to abort close to 50% of your children, I have no idea how that idea came to be such a prominent idea in this country. Almost 50% of all of the babies, black babies, born in this country are aborted, somewhere around between 45 and 47% of all of them. And it probably is more than that, because there is a report that abortion is down in Michigan almost 3%. I think it's 2.8%. So that's good news. But the bad news is that there is a silent partner in this abortion business, and that is the morning after pill. The morning after pill is something that basically you can't even put those numbers, because you don't know who's using them, how much they've used them, and how much they rely on that form of birth control, because it is, even though it's only a few days after conception, it is still a living, breathing baby in there. So we don't know. I mean, we don't know how many abortions through that method are being taken are not being taken into consideration. But anyway, down at Cobo, the Reverend Ewell, WAAM's own Reverend Ewell, leads that expedition down there every year. And we have a dedicated group. I mean, I've been down there every year, and I'm going to continue to go down there until either I don't live anymore, or we get some action to get people to wake up and realize that you're slowly, not slowly no more, it's speeding up. We are going extinct in America. Black people will no longer be in America in a few years. Not a few years, but 50, 60 years. That's on the epic scale. That's not very long. And so what we have to do is we have to change hearts and minds. We're not going to change hearts and minds with laws. We have to get people to realize that it is not in their interest to take the life of the unborn and expect to be for the race to survive. It's just, and these numbers, the numbers that we have with black females, their fertility rates and things, those numbers are all down, and there is no relief in sight unless there is some kind of intervention. And the only intervention that I know of that can do that is hearts and minds have to change, and the only way you can do that is through some kind of a spirit, excuse me, a spiritual reawakening. And that's what we need. We need a spiritual reawakening in this country. But I'm sure that we have the wherewithal here in WAAM country. We have the dedication to that effort with the ownership of this radio station. They are constantly talking in that direction of a spiritual awakening. And I believe once that a spiritual awakening occurs, things like abortion would not be necessary, because every child would be welcomed, and every child would be in a loving family, and we could get by this nonsense that there's some kind of war on women because we have decided to protect the life that has been put in the trust of these females on this planet. And they choose to believe that for whatever reason that their condition in life is going to be better because they abort that innocent child in their stomach. So so what I'm going to do is this morning, I'm going to just do a little review quickly and give you an idea of what went on down at Cobo. As usual, the press chose to give the impression that we weren't even there, and there was a substantial number of us, but there was, in my estimation, some hostility on the part of the law enforcement, which, you know, from listening to this show, that I am very pro law enforcement, and I continue to be and will continue to be, because they're doing a job that needs to be done, and but I think that they are doing that job a little bit on the bias because of the subject that is there. So when we're out there and people are going into that hall, they are going into that hall expecting some answers from the people that are giving out information. And what is the information they're giving out? This year, it was Elizabeth Warren was the keynote speaker, and along with her, there was Sally Yates and Maxine Waters, and their information and their speeches were all anti-Trump, whereas the previous year, when Hillary Clinton was given the keynote address, she was talking about women's issues, abortion, and how that she was such a supporter of Planned Parenthood. That message did not seem to be coming across, because I listened to the speeches down there after we left, and the overwhelming idea that I got from those people speaking was Trump was the problem. Donald Trump was the problem. And it wasn't a lot of women's issues being. I suggest that The reason why is because of the report that says abortions are down in Michigan almost 3%. Now, to me, that says that the Democrat Party has realized that there is no war on women, and there is no bias on the part of the Republican Party and Republican candidates against women. They have done over the years. If it wasn't for the efforts of Republicans, it's the same thing with black Americans. We would not be anywhere over the years were it not for the support of Republicans. So I think some of the people in the Democrat Party have begun to realize that, and they are seeing that. I mean, the proof of it is we won Michigan in the Republican Party this year at the presidential level. That to me was astonishing. That along with Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. I mean, that was a feat that nobody saw coming and nobody was prepared for. But they are gearing up now, and that's why I'm saying to you today that people that believe in the Republican Party, we have got to make our officials, our public officials, our people that are supposed to be looking out for the country, making sure that the laws are adhered to, making sure that the people have the support of the legislature and not just the support of government to control them. And that's what we've seen under the Democrat Party policies. They want to control the efforts and the direction of the people. Whereas it is my true belief that in the Republican Party, they would like for you to control your own destiny, your time of life, your personal conduct. As long as it's legal, you probably won't ever have run afoul of Republican lawmakers. But the Democrat Party believes in controlling people and controlling people's actions. So what happens is we continue to have new laws made up, and we ignore the existing laws. And that to me is the biggest problem that we face today. So when I said that the emphasis to me appeared to be that Trump was the boogeyman in the Democrat Party, well, we have to do a similar way of thinking. We have to say there is a boogeyman in the Democrat Party too, and that is big government. And we need to put the emphasis on reducing the size of government and reducing the efforts of the Democrat Party to not be able to change this. And so we see that I believe that that's why we see the real blockage of just shutting down this Obamacare and some of this environmental nonsense that Obama put in, and we see these things happening, but we also see some foot dragging on the part of the Republican Congress, and that's one of the things. Right now, we're talking about the shutting down of the government. I personally, I say shut it down, and all of the people that don't come to work the next day, so be it. But I might be a little bit tough in that aspect, because people seem to be so afraid of shutting down the government and getting the blame for it I don't know why the Democrats would be afraid to shut down, have the government shut down, because they, no matter who's the president and who's in charge in Congress and the Senate, somehow the blame always goes against the Republican Party. But I say to you that is seems to be a false assumption, because the last time the government was shut down, the House picked up representatives, and they were rewarded for that effort. So I'm wondering, what is it that is such a bother about shutting down the government for the Republicans? Because right as of now, I sense that the White House, President Trump and his people, would just say, okay, we'll shut it down, and then take a little bit of benefit from the fact that the government is not operating. Because to me, it's more harm being done when the Congress is in session than when they are scrambling around trying to figure out how to keep it in session. So that is basically the breadth of the trip to Cobo Hall this week. It was, in my estimation, a insight into the real fear in the Democrat Party. They see that their policy of this war on women and the every group, that this identity politic thing, every group are basically anti-traditional values, and those are the people that have migrated into the Democrat Party, and along with the migrants that come from below the border and above the border, because some of them fly in on airplanes, some of them come in on boats, some of them walk across the border. But that group, almost to the last one, are Democrats in waiting, and so we have to recognize that is a policy of this Democrat Party, and they are scrambling around trying to get a high ground where they can point to the fact that if you vote for the Republican Party, you're voting for a bunch of racists, you're both voting for a bunch of women haters and maybe even women beaters. So all of this just tells me that that we have the Republican Party, the Democrat Party, excuse me. We have the Democrat Party on the run. They are playing defense for the first time, at least since the Reagan era, because we have tried to appease the Democrats, and they are just like some of the despots in North Korea, in Iran, and Iraq. They want control, just like those despots around the world. They want control. Democrats, in my estimation, would like to control people's every waking minute and bring them under the socialist doctrine, and we see what a tragedy that is. Let's take a quick look down in Argentina, and Venezuela. And you should, people should see. Cuba has been there for all of this time, and yet and still we're hauling out people like Bernie Sanders, talking about he's a socialist, he's a communist, and let's call it like it is. But anyway, we are going to press on, and Dell and maybe, Janice is on sabbatical, but Dell is supposed to be here, and he probably will in the next few minutes, maybe before the break. So we're going to continue on, and I want to get into my agenda. And first of all, after the NAACP trek that we made, we get this good news about abortion being down in this country. And I can't tell you how happy I am to hear that. And hopefully we can continue this thing. And I only ask one thing. We don't try to bring in any more laws. We don't try to make any more laws. We got all the laws that we need to this. I mean, because what'll happen is if you start to make laws, what happens is it gives the opposition the opportunity to demagogue the issue and just go into this war on women and these kind of things. What I would like to do is and this is my suggestion, I would like for us to have more access to the places that Planned Parenthood and some of the other entities have. They have done a very good job of keeping people with traditional values from entering our schools and giving the information that will help people make these kind of decisions in a more traditional family type of setting and a traditional values type of venue to have people to seek out the information, not be held and told that this is the better way, this is the best way, or this is the only way. That's not what we need. We need to be able to go to the people and tell them the things that we have come to believe and why we believe them. First of all, the abortion issue is the basis of that information from the left is that it keeps people out of poverty. But the reality is that children help people achieve the mechanisms to get out of poverty and to be a thriving and productive human, because at some point that has to be the only way, and that is self-realization of what it is that you're trying to accomplish in life. And again, the best way to do that is through your efforts, not through the efforts of the government. The government is the wrong person and the wrong entity to put that policy together that will benefit everybody, because you're going to be dependent on the government. That is their effort and their reason for existence, is to make you dependent on them, and that way they will continue to be in power and to issue out what they feel is the best method for your existence. And that's not what we want. Now, if you'd like to join in on this conversation, that number is 734-822-1600. And I want to, just before we get to the break at the bottom of the hour, the first thing on my agenda this week is give you a few statistics. And I'm going to start with this. This is from April 27, 2017, and this is from Right to Life of Michigan. Statistics published by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services show induced abortions in Michigan declined by 2.8% from 2015 to 2016. A total of 26,395 abortions, and we will continue. That number again, 734-822-1600. And we'll be back after these messages.
The boys are back in town. Spread the word around. The boys are back in town. Boys are back.
to the Abolitionists Roundtable, patriotic, red, white, and blue, conservative all-access radio, with your hosts, Del, Phil, and Janice. They're leading the charge in advancing the conservative revolution. Join the conversation at 734-822-1600.
And we're back, and I'm going to continue with these statistics in just a second. But first of all, I want to clear out this line that was waiting. I was going to hold on a minute, but I want to clear it. On line 2, we got Milt Harris. Good morning, Milt.
Phil, how you doing, brother?
Hey, pretty good, pretty good.
Good. I see you holding down the fort, man, and that's so good, man. You know, we got to be strong enough to do what we got to do when we got to do it, okay? You know what I mean? And I see that you're doing that. Phil, I wanted to call in this morning and just make a few comments, man, and hope that your audience out there will be receptive to it.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, in our many conversations, Phil, that I'm not afraid to tell the truth.
Yes,
okay?
exactly right.
And I believe that people have to have that courage to tell the truth and abandon their fear of political correctness. You know, it's all around us, Phil. And the Democrats and the socialists and the liberals, they control people with their language. You know, and just before I was waiting to come on the radio, I was glad to hear that whoever that made that comment about this female genital mutilation.
Yeah.
And saying, because that's a serious thing. And if people don't recognize what Islam is, what Sharia law is, and realize that that practice has been going on under the radar for many years in this country, and it's coming to a neighborhood near you if we don't reject Sharia law and Islam. And just recently, the New York Times, to give you an illustration of what I'm talking about, decided that they were not going to call it female genital mutilation. And they claimed that this would be kind of offensive to Islam. But you know, the real deal, Phil, why they don't want to use female genital mutilation is because the word female puts the feminists on the front line of hypocrisy.
Right.
You understand? Because they constantly talking about they want to protect women. And you know, just 3 weeks ago, I think, maybe 4, they had this big women march in Washington where Trump was victimizing women, and they was out there to protect women. Well, Phil, I know you know it, and I know people listen know it. Before a woman becomes a woman, it's an embryo. And when it's an embryo, it's still a female, right?
That's exactly right.
Now, these same feminists are for abortion. But then when the little girl comes out, every woman was at one time a little girl, and every girl was a little baby. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And you go back to the retrogression, back to the beginning. And if you are for protecting women, how can you allow these people to mutilate little girls? That's a horrible practice. Take away their womanhood, take away their ability to engage in procreation in the manner that it should be.
Yes.
And I think that people listening should be outraged and put these feminists on the line, because that's the reason why the New York Times don't want to use the word feminist, a female, I should say, because it indicts this phony female organization who claim that it's a woman's choice. Well, the little girl don't have a choice.
Exactly.
See what I'm saying? Yeah. And we need to put this on the front line, and that's the reason, Phil, why you know, how in June is National Heterosexual Recognition and Appreciation Month.
Yes.
And the theme is going to be protect the children, protect those who are defenseless. And if a nation, a people, or parents can't protect the ones who are most vulnerable and defenseless, that nation has to fail, Phil.
Yeah.
This is serious.
Yes, it is. And I was just making basically a small comment this morning about the fact that the annual trip down to Cobo Hall and the keynote speaker and the other people that were there, they played back on, they got back off of the idea of this war on women that Hillary promoted.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, they lost to Trump, the female, lost that female vote by a large margin. I heard somewhere around 9 percentage points.
Mm-hmm. And you know, Phil, just taking what you just said, all these different categories is fraudulent.
Yes.
The weakest part of Trump's campaign, on his agenda, I should say, is that he constantly talking about he wants to be the president of all the people.
Yeah.
You can't be the president of all the people because all the people ain't going to support you. Just be the president of all legal Americans who support this country. That's where we need to go.
Exactly.
This stuff about women's votes and black votes and this kind of vote, this is separation. This is segregation. Phil.
Yeah, yes, it is.
And we need to talk about the United States of America as one nation under God, indivisible.
Yeah.
None of this segregated nonsense that the Democrats have reimposed. You know, Phil, once upon a time, particularly, say, with blacks. In the 70s, blacks were proud.
Yep.
We would say black and we're proud and blacks is beautiful. How many people are saying African American is beautiful or African American proud to be one? The Democrats have steered black people into a disenfranchisement, Phil.
Yeah. I mean, Hillary said when she kicked off her campaign, she said, I'm proud to stand with Planned Parenthood.
Yes.
Planned Parenthood, I got the quotes from Margaret Sanger that are some of the worst quotes ever made. But how many times have you heard this year where black so-called African Americans are going around digging up Civil War monuments and putting people out of their entombment? I mean, it's incredible. But because of one thing, because they say that they were racist. I don't know whether they were racist or not, but I do know they were Americans.
Yeah. Well, this is another false thing that they use, racism. The average person who cries racism don't even know what racism is. The average person who holler about civil rights can't explain to you who's stopping their civil rights. We need to take back the language and have the courage to tell the truth. The Democrat Party is the party of death.
Yes, it is.
All right. And what they have done, it's like a horror movie. They have turned a lot of black people in this country and others who believe in this nonsense into what they used to be.
Yes.
The very thing that a lot of these blacks are doing is the same thing that the Democrats did back when they was in slavery and segregation and racism. They have flipped the script, and now they're making people go back to segregation, racism, and all this stuff that they was doing. Well, Phil, I'm not going to take too much of your time, man, because I know your time is short, but I want to say this right quick. I want all of these student anarchists who are out here demonstrating, I'm putting out the word, let's see your tax records. Let's see who's paying for you to be up there in anarchy, okay? And all the Democrat Party, there's legislators who are asking for Trump's tax records. Let's see your tax records. Let's see who you are paying or who you're not paying, all right?
I want to say that's it. Let's see George Soros's tax record.
Yeah, let's see all of them. You understand? They want to, and who is funding these anarchists?
That's right.
See,
George Soros.
Soros, and you know what? Behind the scenes, you got Ali Obama and his shadow government people who are co-signed by the Democrats.
And let's not forget some of them.
They got out of that Obamacare field,
and
they used it. That's how they went after Bill O'Reilly. They're going after Hannity. They're coming after Joshua's Trail, and they're going to try to do something to your program if they get a chance.
Well, you know, the lady that for the first time I saw the movement forming up was on her show, this Joy Reid person that's on, I believe it's CNN or MSNBC, one of them. They honored her down at Cobo Hall over last weekend. And, you know, and also Sally Yates and Maxine Waters.
And Pocahontas was there too.
Pocahontas. And like I said, they had to back off of this war on women because the women are realizing that this so-called war does not exist. You are fighting in your own family. So for them to vote in the numbers that they voted for Trump is a real warning shot. They are going to have to come up with some substance, and not just this rhetoric about people being racist, anti-feminist, and anti-homosexual and all of that. You know, people have said, okay, this law, we're going to coexist with this law, but we're not going to allow you to just run over us
Mm-hmm.
and take the tactics that the racists that you said were racist back in the Jim Crow day and before that slavery. You're using those tactics, and the people that, like you just got through saying, the people that were the victims of the real racism have now become real racists.
Yeah, they done flipped the script.
That's right.
But let me say this in closing, Phil. I want to congratulate you and Reverend Ewell and Sheila and Bruce and everyone that came down there to the march against that fascism of abortion and that fraudulent outfit called NAACP.
Yes.
I want to congratulate you all and say that this is the fight that we must continue, and keep up the good work, Phil. And congratulations to you and Dale and Janice, man, because we're on the front line, and we must stay there. Because see, this is a fight. And talking about the Democrats, Phil, you can't change the DNA of a roach, okay? An insect, you can't change it. You understand? These people are pestilence, and that we have to treat it like that. So I'm gonna say, keep up the good work, Phil, and thanks for letting me get this on the air, okay?
Yeah, and thanks to you for sending those great commentaries that we play here, and we really look forward to hearing them. And thanks again for sending them over, and keep them coming, please.
I appreciate that, Phil, and I will do that, man. Because look here, we the Democrats, the fascists, know that they at war with us. We just didn't know they was at war with them. And that, like that communist nonsense that they try to put on Trump, if Trump had been supported by the Communist Party, how come the American Communist Party in the United States voted for Hillary? Think about it. Okay?
That's right.
All right, Phil. Take care, buddy.
All right, you too. Thanks for calling. And so, getting back, just to say something real quick about this Sharia law nonsense. Last week there was a story in the paper about a Michigan lawmaker proposing bill, but what happened was the media took the idea of her bill. The bill says was, and she is seeking co-sponsors. But the bill says that it would ban foreign law from being practiced in Michigan. Now, that's not banning Sharia law, but the idea of banning Sharia law is a good idea. But this is what the media does. They take the moment of that somebody comes out with an idea. They take that moment and say, well, this is only going to be directed toward this group or that group, and it's going to harm this particular group or that particular group. Instead of saying, like our laws in this country are directed, the country is a country of laws, not of men and groups or organizations. It is a law so this is the harm that the media does, because they always want to portray something that is put together by a Republican as either racist or against some group like homosexual groups. And what people are trying to do, in my estimation, is to find a way to coexist with these groups without having them tear all of the constitutional guidelines and guardrails out of the law and have anarchy in the country. That's where we're headed if we allow the lawmakers to be bullied, I guess, by every time they come up with a law, somebody's going to say that's anti-me or that's anti-this group or anti-something else. It is not. It's pro-law. It's pro-Constitution. The Constitution does not allow for somebody to come into this country and bring the all of the baggage that they had when they were in another country and bring it here and force it on the people here. That's what that's my take on it. That's what I see. And the lawmaker, the state representative named Michelle Hortenga, she's from Martin. I don't know where that is, but I think it's up north somewhere. It says she's seeking co-sponsors on a bill that would ban, and that's not ban, but ban foreign law from being practiced in Michigan. And I'm for that 100%. I don't know how anybody could be against it. But it goes back to what some of the people in some of the Islam faith do whenever someone tries to limit the effects of a bad idea. Now, I've on this program, I've discussed the fact that some of the people from CARE have said that Sharia law is not against the principles of America, and they even go so far as to say that Sharia America is the most compliant constitution of all of the constitutions. That's what they believe. They believe that the American Constitution is more compliant than any other. I don't see how it could be. I mean, you go to England, you go to France, and all of that. As long as if you look around, as far as you can see, the influence of Islam is overwhelming those countries, and they seem to be trying to figure out a way to fight back against it. When you say that Sharia law is America is the most Sharia compliant constitution in the world of all the constitutions, that tells me that that you figured out a way to get what you want through the Constitution while not changing your position or your view on law. You are trying to make that law superior to the existing law. And if you go through the civil courts and go and get a civil rights ruling that is favorable, you are going to have more rights than the American Constitution, because what you are asking for is extra constitutional protections, and that's exactly what the term being Sharia compliant. I don't think that our Constitution should be compliant to any other law or any other, and we shouldn't be practicing any kind of foreign laws in this country. We got a Constitution, we got the script, we got the pattern, we've got the schematic. All we have to do is follow it, and we would be a lot better off. So that's my little take on that Sharia law, and I salute Representative Hortenga, and I hope that she finds somebody to co-sponsor that bill and get this thing going. I suggest she talk to Gary Glenn. He's up in that area. Maybe she can get him to go along with him. But in any rate, folks, this is, as some of our people in the pro-life movement have said, this is war. We are at war within our own country. And fortunately, we have the Constitution, and the Constitution does, make room for differences of opinion. And there is a definite difference of opinion when it comes to this subject. But it also says that it should be equal treatment, and I don't see that treatment being equal. We see all of these movements talking about there should be equality and we need to eliminate privilege of white people and things like that. I say, if you want equality, then we have got to make our Constitution take it back to what the original intent was. When it said all men are created equal, we should work toward that goal. When the Constitution says equal treatment, we should work toward that goal. We shouldn't be working toward trying to get an edge or a position where we can take advantage of the Constitution. The Constitution is there to protect American citizens or citizens that live in America. But at the same time, it shouldn't have extra protections. And I've been calling for, ever since I've been on the radio, I've been saying that we need to get rid of some of these civil rights laws, and we need to revamp some of the courts to make them go back to adhering to our Constitution. That is the only thing that's going to save America. As I said, we got the blueprint, we got the script, we got it all, and all we have to do is follow that Constitution, and we would be great again. And we're going to go to line one, and that's Gary on line one. Good morning, Gary.
Hey, brother. Hey,
right,
I agree with you, obviously, completely. You're right on the mark this morning. But the fact that we even have to consider writing a law that says that we don't use foreign laws in America, foreign structure,
yes,
is sad, because that means they've done so much structural damage to the nation already that this is self-evident.
Yeah.
We shouldn't even have to think twice about it. Of course you don't. It's not something we should even have to consider. But here we are defending it.
Yes.
You know, and that's real sad. That's real bad.
And the Constitution is to defend us. We have to defend it, especially our lawmakers. Our lawmakers, that's their oath of office, to say that they will defend all laws that are constitutionally in place. And I don't know where they get this idea that they should add something to that.
Well, yeah, sure, but our lawmakers apparently are just a bunch of mouth breathers. They don't listen to what they're saying themselves. So,
Gary, I want to get this last call in. Thanks for calling, and call back next week, and I'll give you some more time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to go to. Oh, well, sorry about that. That got away from us. Anyway, in this short time. We have if you have the opportunity, call in and send in a donation or write in at the Art of Michigan the Abolitionist Roundtable of Michigan. That is Post Office Box 135, Garden City, Michigan. And whatever you can give, whatever you feel comfortable with doing, make that donation, because we do need to stay on this air and bring you the truth. And the babies absolutely need the truth. So we will see you next week, folks, when Janice and Dale will be in the driver's seat, and we'll press on, and we are going to do something with this idea that 50% of black babies born and conceived are being aborted. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week, folks. WAAM TALK1600 listeners to continue the roundtable discussions by mailing correspondence to Art of Michigan, Post Office Box 135, Garden City, Michigan 48135.
Or follow Phil, Del, and Janice at artofmichigan.com. You can also send emails to artofmichigan@hotmail.com. And most of all, continue to listen every Saturday and tell a friend.